It all started on a rainy Friday evening, the kind of night where the world outside felt distant and cold. I had always trusted my wife, Elizabeth, with everything, my heart, my secrets, my life. But over the past few months, something had changed. The warmth in her smile had faded, her laughter had become forced, and our once passionate relationship had turned into a series of obligatory exchanges. I couldn't ignore the feeling that something was terribly wrong, but what I found was worse than anything I had imagined. There, staring back at me, were messages that confirmed my worst fears. Elizabeth was seeing someone else, a man named Paul. They had been meeting for weeks, sharing intimate moments, secrets, and emotions that I thought were reserved for us alone. My heart sank, and a cold sweat broke out across my skin. How could the woman I loved, the woman I had shared so much with, betray me like this? The evidence was irrefutable, detailed plans of their rendezvous, expressions of affection, and confessions of their growing connection. It was a nightmare from which I couldn't wake up. As the days passed, I kept the knowledge to myself, pretending that everything was fine. I watched her lie to me, telling me she was going out with friends or that she needed to stay late at work. Each time, my stomach churned with anger and hurt, but I played along, biding my time until I could figure out what to do. Then an idea came to me, one that felt wrong and vengeful but also cathartic. Elizabeth had a sister, Sarah, who had always been close to us. She was kind, caring, and had always shown me more affection than Elizabeth had in recent years. We had become good friends over time, bonding over shared interests and mutual respect. Sarah had no idea about her sister's betrayal, and I knew she would be horrified if she found out. One day, I reached out to Sarah under the guise of needing someone to talk to. I invited her over to our house while Elizabeth was out with Paul. I told her I was going through something difficult and needed a friend. Sarah, always compassionate, agreed without hesitation. When she arrived, I poured us both a drink, and we sat down in the living room. The atmosphere was tense, heavy with unspoken words. I could see the concern in Sarah's eyes as she asked what was bothering me. Slowly, I revealed everything: Elizabeth's affair, the lies, the pain. Sarah's face turned pale with shock, and she reached out to comfort me. Her touch was gentle, and in that moment, we both felt a connection that had been growing unnoticed for a long time. One thing led to another, and before we knew it, we were wrapped in each other's arms, finding solace in our shared pain. It wasn't planned, and it wasn't right, but it felt like the only way to reclaim some sense of control over the situation. We were lost in the moment when the front door suddenly opened. Elizabeth walked in, drenched from the rain, her face flushed from what I could only assume was a passionate night with Paul. Her expression quickly changed as she took in the scene before her, me, her husband, with her sister, in a moment that couldn't be misunderstood. Her eyes widened in horror, and she dropped her keys, her mouth opening and closing as if she were trying to find the words to say. The silence was deafening. She was caught, but so was I, and for a moment, none of us knew what to do. The tables had turned in the most unexpected way, and now it was Elizabeth who was forced to confront the reality of her actions. I stood up, my voice calm but firm. Elizabeth, I know about Paul. I've known for a while now, but what hurts the most is that you never even considered how this would affect us. You destroyed our marriage the moment you decided to betray me. I don't know what happens next, but I think it's clear that we're beyond repair. Elizabeth's eyes filled with tears, but there was no anger in them, just regret and the heavy realization of what she had lost. Sarah, still in shock, quickly gathered her things and left, unable to process what had just happened. The damage was done, and now we were left to deal with the fallout. Elizabeth and I sat in silence for what felt like hours, both of us too numb to speak. Eventually, she broke down, sobbing uncontrollably, but I couldn't bring myself to comfort her. The trust between us had been shattered beyond repair, and the love that once held us together was now nothing more than a painful memory. In the days that followed, we both agreed to separate. Elizabeth moved out, and we started the process of divorce. It was a painful and messy ending, but it was the only way forward. As for Sarah, she apologized profusely, but I couldn't blame her for what happened. We were both victims of Elizabeth's betrayal, caught in a moment of weakness.